Hi, the date is the 3rd of August, 2026, and I was always someone who thought I was different than other people and thought I was special. And it turns out that a guy named Carl Jung from beyond 100 years ago completely mapped out the psychology of my life and kind of explained it all in one archetype. This archetype is called the eternal child. So, the eternal child isn't someone who acts childish, it's someone whose psychological development has stopped. You become an adult physically, but mentally, you still have the psychology of a kid. Children, they live in a world of potential where anything's possible, and when you become an adult, you start to accept reality. An eternal child is someone who does not accept reality and does not make that transition. When you're a kid, you have endless time, you can become anything you want, there's so much potential, and you don't have to choose. You're just a kid. And that's how childhood should go, but the problem is where you go into adulthood with this mindset. Growing up means accepting that life is limited. Every choice closes doors, every commitment kills other possibilities, and every path means you don't get to live every other potential life. Adults accept this, but the eternal child just can't. The greatest fear is the loss of potential. If I become a musician, I can't become a filmmaker. If I move overseas, I remove any possibility of moving to any other country at the time. Choosing something feels like killing a part of yourself. So you just don't choose. You live something that was called a provisional life. Nothing is ever final, and everything is always temporary. Life is always about to begin, but it never actually begins. Potential kind of becomes your identity. And if you found people would tell you stuff like you're smart, you're gifted, you can do anything as a kid, and then when you get older, that becomes your identity. You become someone with potential. It's not like your identity isn't built on achievement, on what you've achieved. It's built on possibility of what you could become. And the moment you actually try one of those possibilities, the potential that you have collides with reality, which reality has limits, But when this potential is in your fantasy, in your mind, fantasy becomes safer than reality. Reality can disappoint you, and reality sucks. Reality, you got to take out the trash. Reality, you can think about building a game, but building a game, it's not like you code something up and you have all these ideas in your mind and then you just put them on the computer. You have to learn coding and go through all the rough nights, fixing bugs, doing all this, and it's not exciting. And that is where, at the point, the idea of building a game, the fantasy of it becomes better than reality. Reality disappoints you, but fantasy never does. In your imagination, you'll make the perfect game, the perfect business, you'll become the perfect version of yourself. And that's just emotionally safer, instead of actually putting your dreams and potential on the line. Because if you haven't actually done anything and all that you are is what people think you're going to be, if all your teachers say, oh, you got so much potential, oh, you got so much this, your parents, everyone who meets you, because when you are the eternal child, you have a childlike wonder and charisma as you get older. And as most people get older, they accept reality, they go to their job, and they lose that. But you still have it, and they see a lot of potential in that, and so they'll tell you. But then all you become potential, and you have to risk losing all that potential, losing everything you identify with to actually achieve something. And that's also why the eternal child loves beginnings, because like a new hobby, business, philosophy, a new relationship, a new career, it's so full of possibility, and then reality appears, it becomes difficult, repetitive, ordinary, boring, sitting up all night learning JavaScript, like that's so boring. And then the excitement, it's gone. So the eternal child will start looking for another exciting beginning, because beginnings have unlimited potential. When you start the business, it could become anything. But when you start getting down to the fine tacks of it, it can't. Why ordinary feels unbearable to the eternal child? Of course, they believe that life should stay exciting, but boredom, sacrifice is a big one, sacrificing that potential, sacrificing the other possibilities. And, the eternal child will unconsciously reject all of these things. And they believe that the perfect life will stay exciting forever. Then there's, let's see. Because, you have all these dreams, talents, and ideas. Like, you have that childlike creativity that can change the world, but nothing really, it never really goes anywhere. See what else. Defensive arrogance. You will, like, as I said at the start, you will think things like, I'm different, I'm meant for something bigger, ordinary life isn't for me. It's protection. If you're meant for something extraordinary, you never have to fully engage with reality. Then there's the fear of wasting time, which is the biggest paradox of this whole thing, because the eternal child worries about choosing the right path or wasting years doing the wrong thing, which ends up in them wasting years. And they do research, they reflect, they analyze, but they never actually do something tangible. And why the hardest part of all of this, why insight doesn't fix this issue. The eternal child loves insight. You watch a video, it explains your life, and you're like, wow, that is me. Maybe you're watching this right now and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is explaining me perfectly. You journal, you reflect, you create a philosophy, you understand yourself, and then nothing changes. The eternal child can turn even self-awareness into fantasy. Instead of acting, they think about acting, and instead of changing, they understand change. Insight becomes another wall to hide behind. And what growing up actually is? Letting go of the childish illusions. That's why growing up involves so much sacrifice. But maturity requires giving up on infinite possibilities for one life. And if you ask a lot of successful people, they'll say, what made them so successful? It was saying no to a lot of good things. Saying no to so many other good things to direct them on one path. And it's kind of ironic because I dropped out of high school. I was like, man, I'm going to trade finance. I'm going to do this, do that. I dropped out of high school, and it sounds a bit silly, but imagine the Matrix. Red pill, blue pill. So red pill, you stay in reality, or red pill, you leave the illusion and go into reality, and blue pill, you stay in reality and just keep staying in the dream world. I thought I was taking the red pill. I thought I was, I'm leaving university, I'm not doing the conventional path, I'm going to do things this way. But I thought I was choosing the harder life. I was actually choosing the easier life because I could stay a child for longer. I didn't want to grow up. I didn't want to go to university. I didn't want to get a job. I didn't want to grow up at all. I didn't want to lose that potential. So I chose to stay in that illusion. I thought I was taking the red pill. I thought I was leaving reality. I thought I was going into reality and kind of like that. But no, I was just staying in my illusion. And taking the red pill would have been sacrificing that potential and going to reality of getting a job. And a job doesn't have to be a bad thing, but I didn't want to lose the potential. And I used the excuse. And social media backed this up. Social media said, you are special. You do the special thing. You drop out of high school and become a successful entrepreneur because you can get rich quick. And that's that. So I was like, man, I'm going to go get rich quick. I'm going to take the hard life. I'm going to take the red pill. And it turns out I was just going into the delusion that social media was feeding me and becoming an eternal child, or just being an eternal child. And yeah, so I know that this video hasn't talked about many solutions, but I'm still figuring out the solutions. I'm kind of just still at the insight part where I've just figured out, holy crap, this is me, and I have done this to my life, you know? And it's kind of just like, I'm still kind of in shock of how true it all is, but I'm gonna think on it, do some more research, and try to figure out a possible solution, which what Carl Jung said the solution is work. But what I believe is that you have your consciousness, you have your actions that you take, your consciousness, your subconscious, and your unconscious. I believe that this is coded into my unconscious, and if I can change that, if I can fundamentally accept the change, then I can make a meaningful difference and actually commit to something. Sacrifice my potential, sacrifice other stuff, and commit to something. And it doesn't matter what I commit to. It doesn't matter if I go become a dentist or a surgeon or go become a basketball player or anything. I just need the ability to commit so I can bring this childlike creativity into fruition. But yeah, that's just my theory at the moment. So I'm gonna try to take some more action, think on it, do some more research, and try to figure out what this actually means for my life. But yeah, so it's a lot to take in. But yeah, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. See you guys.